Well, what's up, everybody? My name is Chris Mayer, and you're tuned in to the SHO, the Boston Indies talk show and happy hour, of course, presented by Boston Indies, Boston's home for independent games. We got a great show for you tonight. Before we kick things off, just a couple quick announcements. First up, of course, you can follow Boston Indies on Twitter at Boston Indies, on Facebook at facebook.com/Boston Indies. And of course, if you want to find out about other meetups and events and that sort of stuff that's going on, you can follow the sort of global Boston Game Dev meetup page at meetup.com/Boston Game Dev. You can also join us on the Slack at slack.bostongamedev.com, and I'll dump all of these links into the chat, even though I'm like 80 or 90% sure that everyone who's here is familiar with all of this stuff. A couple things that are coming up on this Sunday. Season 3 that Will was on? Season 3 guest Will Brierly and the Boston Festival of Indie Games are running some sort of a like immersive theater, interactive theater event called Chekhov OS, which you can check out at the link I just posted in the chat. Boston Festival of Indie Games is going to be running in about 2 weeks at the end of this month, May 29th. Put a link for that in the chat. Boston Unity Group is coming up on the 26th. I don't remember what it is. What is it? That's right. It's the Better Shaders with Shader Wizard Jason Booth. So that one I'm sure is going to be great. And is this one great? Yes. Mass Digi is running their Jumpstart Jam, which is a game jam for sort of like high schoolers and people who are new to game development, and that's running on June 4th. Final announcement here is that this is, in fact, I don't want to say the last episode of the SHO, but last one for a long time, probably. Like at least 2 or 3 months. We'll probably return. I'm not gonna, say anything definitive, but yeah, it's gonna be a while. Most of the episodes are up on YouTube. I'm gonna go through and finish editing and getting them up there so that they're available if people miss them. And I think that's gonna do it. Let's kick off the show.
SHO!
And here are your hosts. Oh, that's not right. There they are.
Yay! Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boston Indies Talk Show and Happy Hour, or SHO, the only corner of the internet where you hear cool things about Boston game development while we talk to cool Boston game developers. Thank you for tuning in to this, our season finale. I am one half of Season 4's dynamic hosting duo, a game designer who, much like the protagonist of one of our guest games, will knock all of your belongings off the table when left unattended. I am Kate Olguin, and as always, I am joined by local legend, the one and only
Ziba. No, there's actually two of me. I'm just
not that special.
Yeah, the other one's
which one's the real Ziba?
Yeah, that's when Chris cut to the host. He was like, "Oh no, that's not right," because he thought it was the other me for a second, and we sorted it out. We're good. Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
How you doing?
doing pretty well. I've got my
that.
most garish coat on.
Ooh.
It's like the 80s threw up on me. That's my take.
I worked years ago. I worked a job where we had actual post-it notes where it said they were pre-filled out, like who called and why. And I went off for lunch. And I came back and there's a note on my desk and it said who called, the 80s, why, they want their hair back. Just left that for me on my desk. It was too beautiful to be angry about.
It's brutal.
I love that list that Chris read in the opening. You got Will Brierly and Jason Booth, who are just two of the most, unique and accomplished Boston minds. And then you got Fig and Mass Digi. It's a real, it's Boston firing on all cylinders.
We're jam-packed with peanuts, much like Snickers. Peanuts being good Boston game development things. This analogy could use a little bit more thinking out.
Well, this is our possibly ultimate show for a while, as Chris mentioned. I guess it's all because I've been negotiating for a higher salary. Is really what's going on behind the scenes here.
We've been trying to unionize, actually.
Yeah, I'm pro-union. Worst decisions. I want to tell you how I wasted my day today. I discovered there was a E.T. game made for the PlayStation 1, and I have been playing that. E.T.
boy.
Intergalactic Mission.
Does it hold up to the most infamous E.T. game?
So I actually had that in my youth, right? So E.T. came out in 1982, right? And so an E.T. Intergalactic Mission comes out in 2001. So like, who's your audience at that point? Your average kid who loved E.T. is going to be between 25 and 35 at that point, and you've made a PlayStation game. I don't know. It was amazing. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to get into it themselves. I don't know. Just answer. It brought up a lot of questions about like the value of an IP and what you do with it, and like, what if I'd received if I landed the ET IP right now, what would that even? I don't know.
See, you said I don't want to spoil it, and then it brings up a lot of the questions of the value of an IP, and I'm like, man, the story for this ET game really went in directions I wasn't expecting.
It was really sexual, but I don't know. I think about it a lot, especially every time I see a Garfield game come out. Like, what are the deals behind that IP? And what, I don't know. I'm just saying, this is a warning. What I'm really saying here is this is a warning sign that someday I'm going to get a strange IP. I'm going to make a bid. I'm going to spend too much on an IP that's way past its prime, and I'm going to do something with it. And I'm just letting the community know now. This is the ledge I'm going to fall off someday.
See, I thought you were leading up to in 20 years or so, someone's gonna make a BitShow video game.
Well, I guess the other thing I'm kind of getting at with this whole season here, or this today's show, is we should probably whatever we can do to get picked up by Netflix would be nice. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's get all of them in on this. Hulu, Disney Plus.
All right. Hey.
Hey.
Should we talk about Boston games?
No, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Show over. No. Yeah, let's go for it.
All right.
Bit showboating.
We never got a segment audio. You know what?
You still have your
round of
harmonica on
applause
you?
for getting to the bit show. I'm forgetting to the bit showboating part. Yeah, you know, not that we're in any way trying to inflate the potential for scoring on today's show, so that John Bellini could maybe have a chance of overtaking today's guest as the high scorer for the season. I just was really excited about moving on to the segment and requested applause. That's all. Okay, that's enough of my nonsense. What's going on here?
Let's go on to some stuff that is decidedly less nonsense. It's Michael at Jump Button Studios with Fragments. It got selected by Google to be produced by the team and put on Stadia. It's a local co-op platformer. You pass around the ability to jump, and I think other things, but uncertain. And you have to communicate. Because you gotta like pass the jump ability back and forth between each other. I look forward to it being the focus of a lot of really angry game nights.
And if anybody remembers Michael Berteau from being on our show a while ago, that kid is a rocket shooting upward, just really punching above his age, his weight, and doing great stuff. So it's exciting to see him landing this.
Yeah, keep that on your radar if you, like me, are constantly looking for co-op games to get angry over.
Ooh, Rohit is got a new build of 9. Their adorable platforming cat game. Not pictured here. You should go through our Discord somewhere. It's got great visuals, good feel. Always reminds me of Commander Keen in a good way somehow. And it's good foreshadowing for our guest today with Games About Cats.
Games About Cats. Yeah, it looks like they're looking for some play testers. So join the 9 Discord to play test, but also there's a link to an itch download if you don't want to go on Discord. So go look in the post from post in the devlog from last Friday. I can say words. And also, if you want to learn more about 9, the other month Ro did a talk called 9 Lessons for Making 9 that's available on the Boston Postmortem YouTube channel. So you can hear his sage wisdom.
Like, I was supposed to cover that slide, but you did like 10 times better than me, so I feel like I have to cover the next one. Which I'm going to botch again. Sorry.
No, you do great.
Manny sharing off the cutscenes with Soul Iron Tail, spooking us with their spooky guy. Cutscenes always feel like this strange luxury to put into a game. They're just, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, it's a sign that you have time to think about something other than, oh god, I need to make it work, period. So it's nice to see Manny helping us luxuriate in their vision here.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, new bug, new bug, new bug. Yes, I love all these bugs so much. This one gives me a very specific vibe. I'm gonna make a potentially niche reference, but there's one point in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword where you go into like a silent realm and there are all these guardians and they're white and gold, but when they get mad, their eyes turn red. And I saw this bug and I'm like, wow, it's brought back a memory from my, it wasn't childhood, but anyways, this bug belongs in Skyward Sword. Get on it, Nintendo.
Killing it with the bugs. Oh, next slide is also bugs. Oh, this is also interpretive evocative art, where you're supposed to figure out what the hell's going on with Dross's level design. And that's a delight. When you've basically created a language that in some ways only you understand or need to understand in the middle of game development. And that's where Saul is at with Dross's mad level design tools. And hats off to you for getting that neck deep in your own mind there.
Love that. Oh, it is Raven's Path from Shane. Raven's Path, a tactical RPG. It is entirely free to play now, and they got an article from Pocket Gamer about that. So that's rad. You can customize your party. You can stab people. You can go places. I mean, what more could you want in a video game? So go check it out. Stab a bunch of people in real time, and I don't know, read the article too. Live your best life. Consume.
I got
Raven's
to play
Path.
this at the holiday party. Chris Mayer, you organized this at some lovely pub back in the old days, and an evil Shane and evil villain were showing off this game, and it is. I enjoyed it. It's impressive. I do recommend people check it out.
Love that.
Jesse's automaton thing. Jesse has been off for it seems like several weeks now in the land of implementing interesting bits of infrastructure in systems in games, which is a particular flavor that you get in game dev. There's cutscenes, there's mechanics, there's story, and this is systems, and yeah. It's a feel.
Look at those honeycombs. Beloved by bees everywhere. Oh, it is Flippin' Birds. Hey, I think we saw that last week or the week before, somewhere in there. But anyways, progress seems to be have been made on zooming around in a sky blue car, which is exciting. Benny is saying that it looks like they could use some 2D/3D art help on Flippin' Birds. Here's their current progress of car. So yeah, if you're someone who wants to lend a hand, go hit Benny up on the Slack, and maybe you too can drive around in a sky blue car and hopefully avoid hitting people or hit people, depending on what you want out of your day. How many insurance bills?
What I want out of my day is some Betty and Earl.
Mm.
I like that. That's my smooth segue there. Matt is marching along. He's been showing us level art for a while, but now we're getting capsule art. There's trying to make it eye-catching, and I'm assuming that was a joke. The play on words with the eyes. There's eyes there. We're catching them. I get it. And Matt has such a great eye for aesthetics and what he's doing there. So awesome to see that. Go ahead and jump in the Slack. Talk to Matt about his eye-catching art there.
Do it. Oh, and we are here with even more capsule art from John Bellini, Alpha 1. Yeehaw! This is, I think, the first non-pixel art that I've seen for Alpha 1, and that's pretty tasty. I do like it. If anyone else has opinions on the tastiness of John's capsule, direct your opinions to the BizDev channel in the Slack. It looks rad.
Yeah. We're back with Semi-Myth's Untitled Indian History strategy game. We got a peek at some of the menus last week. Portrait art, that's nice. This is you got that middle shot, which is clearly like the data. This is Excel spreadsheets, which is really the heart of any good complicated game. Is a good spreadsheet, and then you personalize it. So much of games is about analogies and metaphors, abstractions on top of data to make you be able to make these quick emotional decisions about what are actually dry numerical systems, and we're seeing it all here spread out in this Untitled Indian History strategy game coming together.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the intent, but the third picture there gives me a real strong Mount and Blade vibe, which is a game that I really like. So
Yeah.
very into that.
Love that. Oh, and last but certainly not least, I'm gonna mispronounce this name. It's Pneuma Hex, I think. So Pat says I wanted to show off some of the artwork the artist has been doing on that project, which is what would happen if you mixed Stranger Things, Evil Dead, and NES oddballs like Fester's Quest. I feel like that really captures that vibe, but also I did not grow up with those games, so fair enough. But I also appreciate this because I really feel like you don't get a lot of media outside of like it's Stranger Things and I guess, but like it's a remake that's just children in a suburb go and do things, I guess. Which is a whole genre, and that's a shame because I think that's a solid genre, and I'm glad that it is being revisited here. I look forward to seeing more children do things, I guess. And also supernatural. That's a subgenre of children do things.
Yeah, to tie it back to my awful rant about ET earlier, like there is this moment in reason you go back to a point, and you didn't know where the children were, and that was fine. You had no expectation of knowing where the children were. The children were off doing something, and that's all you needed to know. And you don't know when they'll be back. They'll be back when they feel like being back, and that was just not that long ago. And how strange that is. I don't know.
Yeah.
A minor correction point. We got Untitled Indian History Strategy Game. I believe is actually called A Lion's Age. I think I'm getting that from the chat if I'm reading that right.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah. All right.
Amazing.
Round of applause for all of those great games right there. Yeah. Appreciate it. Round of applause there. Woo. Yeah. Digging that. All right.
Our most applause-heavy episode to date.
Well, I don't want to move forward because that means the show's getting closer to the end. But I do want to move forward because that means we get to introduce our fantastic guest for the day. I'm really stuck. So, round of applause for how everything's going so far. It's great. Throwing it out. All right. Okay. No.
Really excellent work there.
I actually don't know what'll happen if we do applause twice in a row. I think the coroutine might step on itself in a weird way. So let's not. we're gonna be a little careful about that one.
Round of applause for being careful. No, I'm kidding.
You hold the button, of course you will, but I think that's gonna be contentious. You and I are gonna have.
Be a perfect closer for BitShow would be to have a fatal error.
Actually, as noted in the chat, if you type !clap too many times in a row, Twitch will think that you're spamming the chat and prevent you from doing so. So
yeah, yeah, it's really good.
Be careful, John. This is awful. I am not rooting for any one of our.
We got a great guest today.
Over anyone else, because today we have a great guest. So
it's kind of like when you're like doing QA for like a game that's really good, but you're like, well, what would happen if I did break it?
Yeah. I'm just bumping into all the walls today. So today's guest is, and I'm gonna declare this now. Even no matter what happens with today's score, today's guest is the winner of BitShow.
Hail to the king,
That's
baby.
right, it turns out it was a competition, and we were tallying the audience's scores. But long before Chris Chung won BitShow, he won our hearts. And the hearts of countless players, through his dedicated years of effort to craft and community and cats. Starting with a simple pet project, he clawed his way through Steam Greenlight, hauled in some scratch on Kickstarter, and his perfect game pitch landed a meountain of attention from top press and streamers. And today, he will panther all our questions. Please give it up for Chris Chung.
That was excellent.
You were so gracious. I imagine you've been tortured with that level of, discourse many times over the last umpteen years you've been working on this project. So thank you. And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
Doing well. Keeping busy. I don't know. It's yeah.
Suspicious.
Doing a lot of things that haven't been announced yet.
So let's go back in time a little bit. It's 2013, and you are participating. I think it's 2013. If my research is approximate, you are participating in the 7D FPS Jam, and something happened. Something clicked. What happened?
Yeah, so I was at the time working full time as a QA tester and always kind of doing my own game jams on the side. And this one seemed like a fun, not a 24-hour or 48-hour one. It was a nice, long, drawn out one that I could do over time. And also just the prompt of making interesting first person games seemed fun. So I was like, I play first person games and like, they're all about shooting. And like, I wonder what else we could do there. And yeah, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but just the first idea I had was like, oh, I wonder if anyone's ever made a first person cat game. And like, what would that mean? Like, and even funnier if it was just a very, mundane cat, like not even anything like, the cat doesn't have weapons, the cat doesn't talk. It's just a regular old cat. Like, I wonder how that would work. And that's kind of where it started. And of course, the first thing I think of is like, well, what are the mechanics of this game? And it's like, well, if you can't shoot and you're just a cat, like, what do you have? It's like, well, you have your paws. So basically, it's just like a melee game, right? Where you walk around just swatting stuff. And I just thought it would be really funny to be in one. Basically, most games you play as a human or a human-sized character, right? And it's like, what if you shrunk the player down really small, and you just run around a regular house and just like swat at things as a cat? And that sounded really both manageable and kind of like a fun thing that I hadn't seen before. And yeah, I managed to actually get something playable in a week, and it was actually pretty fun.
And you posted that like publicly playable on.
Yeah, so the 7-Day FPS had their own site where you could kind of browse all the games that were made. I think that jam in particular is fun because that was the same jam that Super Hot was made. And also there was a game, probably Archery, that I know got some press. And I think there were a couple other ones that were kind of notable from that specific week. But yeah, I think I kept working on it because, at the end of the jam, it was playable but super buggy. So I was like, well, I'll keep working on it. And I think the game dev subreddit had like a weekly like feedback thread. So I was posting it there every now and then, kind of slowly improving it over time. Again, just nights and weekends.
Was it? Did you right out of the gate call it Catlateral damage?
Yeah, I think that was. I feel like that was like the last day of the jam. I was like, I need to name this something, and like I feel like it has to be something that's notable, or like a made up word. And yeah, just settled on that, and I was like, oh, that's not too bad. We'll roll with that.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you were posting this places. Like, it sounds like Catlateral had a pretty public development cycle. What was all of that like pluses? Would you recommend it? Like, what was the deal with that?
Yeah, I think for that game it was nice because it came out of a game jam with a very simple idea and very simple execution. So I didn't really have any grand schemes for the game after that, or kind of other than more content, more levels. So I know, like, posting it online to Reddit and eventually like going to PAX and such, like we got a lot of feedback from people that got really excited about the core idea, and they're like, oh, it'd be so cool if you could do this, or it would be so cool if you had this in it. I think we had someone, I forget where it might have been even at a Boston Indie, someone was like, oh, does this game have catnip in it? And I was like, no, it doesn't, but obviously it should, right? So it's just, yeah, getting a lot of feedback from the community and just other players is like super helpful for the development of it.
You make me sentimental for actually going to an Boston Indies, and like just letting the I don't know, people bounce off your game means so much. Aside from just other players and Reddit, you got a lot of press pretty early on. How did you respond to that?
It was definitely a surprise because I wasn't trying to get a lot of press. It was definitely that big luck element of any games development. But I remember there was a site called Alpha Beta Gamer that would post like free games and betas that you could sign up for or try, and at that time you could play Catlateral in a browser. So I think they posted it, and everything kind of just snowballed out of that. But I think the one big thing I remember is I was, again, at work at my full-time QA job, and one of my coworkers was like, dude, you're on the front page of Reddit. And I was like in the middle of doing whatever I was doing, like totally killed the productivity the rest of the day. But someone just posted a random GIF from the game or someone's Let's Play of it. And it just, hit front page #1 on Reddit. And I think that's kind of when everything, that was like January 2014. So a couple months after the game jam, that just like every site seemed to pick it up. And it was like, and I think the one actionable thing from that was it wasn't on Greenlight yet. And that was, way back when you had to get that approval to get on right. Steam. And I remember, I think it was that day, the day it went from page on Reddit, I went home and I was like, I need to get this Greenlight page up like right now. I need to just pay the $100, $200, whatever it was, get all these assets together, write up some copy and get it. And it was, I think that was kind of a theme of the development was a big thing hit. I need to rush and try to, cap, put that lightning in a bottle. But yeah, it's all totally luck, I think, other than, it being an idea that people kind of, it kind of struck a chord with people. I think other than that, I didn't do any, any work to get it covered.
Yeah, so as you're responding to all these things, is that part of why you you connected with the Firehose? Was that to get help with all the I don't know, the influx to take advantage of things, or how did you end up connecting with Firehose on this?
Yeah, that was a funny story. So it just kind of happened to be like a right place, right time sort of thing, where Firehose was starting up an indie incubator program. And they were looking for games to kind of put their, I was basically the first game in their incubator program. And it's funny because they, I think Eitan, the head of Firehose, he gave a talk at Postmortem. It must have been like a month or two after the game jam. And I remember going there, and I think there's video of it. And you can just see me in the audience, but I remember going there and I'm like, oh, my game's too early. It doesn't qualify for this, this incubator program. So I'm just like, this is cool, but it's not for me. And then all the press hit a couple months later. And a coworker that I had who had worked with Eitan was like, hey, they're doing this thing. You want me to connect you? I was like, sure. I didn't really know where I was going with the game. I was just, slowly working on it week by week. And yeah, so I ended up connecting with Eitan. I think over the next, I think it was by March of 2014, got kind of enrolled, I guess, as the guinea pig of the incubator program.
Wow, that's neat. Doubling back a little bit to our talking about in-person events that we all miss so much. You've shown and attended at a lot of conferences. So how did that, you mentioned a little bit, but how did the conferences end up benefiting you and Catlateral?
The conferences, I think, were probably one of the more useful things for the development. Just getting, random players of all, interest and skill levels to look at it and give feedback and, find bugs or things that could be polished. That was super helpful. And I think the fact that PAX East is, or was down the street from us, it's a pretty easy conference to go to. I think I forget the total, but I think we showed at PAX 2 or 3 times, PAX East, and then I went to West by myself with my wife, and we kind of did the conference, all 4 days of the conference alone. And that was intense.
That's crazy. Were you showing by yourself, or were you showing under the Firehose banner? What were you doing there?
So the first time we showed was in 2014, shortly after. That was one of the first things that I did with Firehose, is that we're like, well, we should, PAX is coming up. Firehose already had a booth, so they made some room for me. So yeah, I showed with them there. I think that PAX East and the one after that. And then PAX West, it was, we got into the indie mini booth. So I figured like, oh, it's, you just have one setup. So, I'll just go by myself and take care of it. And it was intense. But yeah, and I know we showed it Boston Fig once or twice. Yeah, I don't know. It's so long ago now. I forget.
Is that a horse you're ready to jump back on when it's time? The conference circuit?
I don't know. Maybe I do miss, being an exhibitor and showing the game to people and seeing people get excited about it. But there's definitely it's very tiring, and standing for that long is. I remember, I think the first PAX I did, I worked the booth for like the first 3 or 4 hours without taking a break, just because I hadn't done it before. And I was like, man, why am I really tired? I was like, oh, I haven't eaten anything and I've been standing for 4 hours. So yeah, it's definitely takes a toll on you. But yeah, I think just getting the feedback and just that energy is super good.
But not you talked about the benefit of them being feedback and, I don't know, just context of industry, not so much sales or audience building.
I feel like, at least in my experience, that's been kind of hard to gauge. I think we did sell Steam keys a couple times, but I don't remember them being that meaningful of a sales bump. And then yeah, I think in terms of like audience building, I think it definitely helped awareness, but yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember if we actually got anything like tangible, like mailing lists, emails or whatnot. But there was one year we showed, it must have been 2016. I was in the middle of adding VR support to Catlateral. I think it must have been like March or April of 2016, like right before the commercial sets had come out. And I saw someone on a mutual Twitter follower was like, oh, we need someone with a VR game to show at PAX East because we had someone drop out. And like, I was like, hey, I have a VR game. And they're like, sure, okay, like just show up with your stuff. So we ended up showing the VR version, and we got like a huge line for the whole weekend. But I don't know if that actually translated to anything other than, people were at PAX and wanted to try some cool VR game. I think the best thing I got out of that was seeing like 3 or 4 people like nail their friends with a VR controller, just because they got so into it. So that was fun. But yeah, I don't know about sales or anything.
All right, so let's talk about VR then. Catlateral, you made a VR version, and you made another game called King Kaiju with Firehose in there. So what drew you to VR, and I don't know, what did you get out of making a VR game? VR games, plural.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. It must have been. It was early when Valve was kind of showing off their Vive prototypes and stuff, and I know they had an event at MIT where you could sign up for a slot and try out, their demos, their VR demos. So I think that was the first time I had tried it. Oh, well, actually, I think I tried it at a Boston VR meetup or Boston Indies meetup before, like on the old Oculus that was like super blurry and, seated, and you couldn't really do much. And that was kind of cool. But the event at MIT was cool. They had a couple demos, one of them being Job Simulator by Alchemy. And I remember playing that and it being pretty cool. And I like dropped a mushroom on the floor in like the cooking game. And like something clicked where I like bent over and picked it up, and I was like, whoa, this is like crazy. And I think since then I've been kind of like pretty interested in how VR like is so much different from, I guess they call them flat games.
So that's so weirdly insulting. I don't know.
Yeah, it does feel like, those old 3D games, not these like 4D masterpieces or whatever. But we, again, another instance of luck is that Chet Falasek was working at Valve, heavy in the VR area. He ended up backing our Catlateral Kickstarter and putting a photo of one of his cats in the game. So we kind of got introduced to him through that. And we were thinking we were talking about VR. I forget why. I don't remember if it was specifically for Catlateral, but we were just like, hey, like, can you like send us some dev kits so we can like play around with it and see, what happens? And he was like, yeah, sure. So he just sent us some.
Awesome.
Wow.
And I was like, and this was, after Catlateral had shipped, and I think it was actually after the PS4 port. So again, I was like, I don't really know what else I'm doing after this. So, these VR kits show up, and I'm like, all right, I guess it's a first person game, and I think it'd be cool in VR. Again, from that, perspective of being a small character. And it actually was a pretty straightforward implementation, and it was like really cool to play around with. And then like PAX happened right after that, where we showed it and people were excited about it. So we just ended up releasing it as a free update on Steam.
Wow. So some time's passed since then. Are you planning on doing any more VR, or what's your interest in that? Has it changed?
VR is tough because the market still isn't, I guess, mature enough yet for it to be worth it, I guess, for smaller developers, which hurts me a lot because I still really like VR. I still from time to time jump in and I actually just finished the Darth Vader set of games on the Quest, which are
Darth Vader
cool.
Immortal. What are some of your other favorites? Any recommendations?
I bought I've been meaning to get back to Half-Life Alyx. That one's I think the closest we're gonna get to a AAA VR game for a while. And so I spent a lot of time with that. And of course, Beat Saber was definitely one that I was jumping in a lot. But yeah, I feel like it's really tough for smaller devs to make a living off VR only right now, until I think it gets more adoption. But yeah, I mean, I would still love to do another VR game, and I think that's one of the things on my list of post Remeowstered launch is see if I can get VR in that as well. But
nice.
Yeah, we'll see.
And speaking of the intersection between video game and reality, let's talk for a moment live action. Well, let's talk about that live action trailer that you got for Catlateral Jam. Let's talk for a moment about that.
You are our second guest in a row who has a live action trailer. How rare is this?
Yeah, so that was funny because I had absolutely nothing to do with it. So we were getting close to shipping Catlateral on Steam, and it was like, oh, we need a trailer, and I was like, I'm bogged down with this last wrapping things up and fixing bugs or whatever. So Eitan, who's there in the trailer, he's like, I'll just take it over, and I'll figure out the script, and we'll figure out, we'll hire someone, we'll get it wrapped up so you don't have to worry about it. So I think the person that produced the video was actually a friend of Will Brierly's, I think, if I remember correctly, and that's how we met him. And he just did a bunch of silly videos on YouTube. And we're like, sure, we'll just whip up a trailer really quickly. So I just remember Eitan and them going off and doing the trailer, and then a couple weeks later being like, here's the trailer. And it was hilarious, and I was like, well, I guess there's nothing I could do about it if I didn't like it, right? So I guess that's what we're going with. And it actually ended up getting a lot of traction. I think you can tell if something's going well when you have people on the internet crapping on it in the comments. And I think that's I think at one point it hit trending on YouTube somehow, and ended up getting a couple thousand views on it. And of course, there's people that are like, this is so cringy, or this is awful. But then a bunch of other people are like, this is hilarious, or where can I find this game? So I think when you get something divisive like that, you've done it right, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's genuinely great. It's also important that it's informationally useful. It does communicate the vibe and the spirit of what you're doing there. So I think it's really my guess why it worked. But what do I know?
Listen, it's press. That's good.
So all of that leads us up to now, nearly, a decade after the initial feverish impulse hit you, you are Remeowstering the game. What is Remeowstering?
Remeowstering is the best, I guess, subtitle I could think of to put on it to I guess get across the idea that it is basically what I consider the definitive version of the game, or I've been saying it's the new and improved version that I've rebuilt from the ground up, which is that's kind of buzzwordy, but no, I literally started with a brand new project and totally rewrote the game, because I could think those of you who are familiar with Unity and how Unity was, they used to support another programming language called Unity Script that I think was worse than C# in some ways.
But that's a relative of JavaScript.
Yeah, they tried to mirror JavaScript syntax, but put their own kind of Unity spin on it. And me coming from my closest experience being Flash and ActionScript, I was like, oh, this looks familiar enough. I'll write the whole game in this. And I think that was a mistake, but I was young and stupid. So yeah, Remeowstered, rewritten and rebuilt from the ground up. And it kind of started end of 2018. We ended up pitching the game to Nintendo to get access to the Switch development. And actually, we had pitched a game, I think, a year before that in 2017, and they rejected it. But it was, a year later, and the store had opened up a little bit more. I was like, oh, let's try again. So I ended up getting accepted, and I was like, well, I don't think the original game can actually run on the Switch as is, namely because there's, hundreds of objects and furniture in the game. And the way that I set it up back then was, oh, let's just put it in one giant Blender file, because that's how it's easy for me to edit them and import them into Unity. But I know in looking into the Switch development docs, they were like, you have to actually manage your assets smartly, not just have everything loaded in one file. So I was like, so it kind of started, I was like, okay, I'll refactor the assets so they're easier to load. I was like, well, if I'm refactoring that, might as well refactor all the code that doesn't work very well, or, is just all duct taped together. And I was like, well, if I'm rewriting the code to be better, I can add a couple more features and some more polish. So yeah, and then 3 years later, it's almost done. But I actually think my initial thing was like, oh, I think rebuilding it from scratch will make the port process much quicker. Which it didn't, but I do think that it made a better game in the end.
Did you make a significant number of design decision changes?
Yeah, so I think one of the core issues with the original game is just my inexperience with the game engine and game design and that sort of thing. So I think having a couple years to kind of ruminate on it and be like, oh, what things didn't work out? What are the most requested features, or the things people say the most in reviews that they don't like. And the original game is pretty straightforward. So it's all the levels are actually procedurally generated, but it's not, the game doesn't really do a good job of telling you that. So you basically play 4 levels in order, and then the game's like, okay, you got a high score, and that's it. So there's no real like long-term progression or any kind of sense that you're accomplishing anything. It's just it's very much borderline like sandbox, more of a sandbox than a game. And I think that's one of the things that I had always wanted to fix, is make it have a bit more progression in it, because there was a bunch of content, like there's like 200 something cat photos and 22 playable cats and like all these things that I'm sure like 2% of people actually see, just because the game seems like, oh, it ends after playing for an hour. So that was the big thing I wanted to address in Remeowstered, is just have that I guess more standard game progression, with unlocking levels and unlocking content, and then it just kind of, I wouldn't say spiraled, but it expanded from there, where there's special abilities you can unlock. You can, there's like this currency in the game where you can use to buy abilities and new cat photos. So yeah, I think it's still a small-ish game, but I think it definitely feels more expansive than the original did.
Nice.
Do you have, maybe you can't say, a timeline for a release on this?
My goal is summer of this year, probably around July. But I think there are a couple of things that need to align for that to happen. Namely because like the game design and development, we started, we'll just release on Switch and Steam. But I wanted to challenge myself, and I was like, well, what if we release on other things as well? So
wait, so you're telling me you're gonna have hardware ray tracing on these cats? That's what you're telling me?
Catlateral Stadia when?
Probably not, but no, I do. Nothing has been officially announced yet, but I do have the game up and running on at least 4 other platforms, and I'm going to try to sim ship them all this year.
So this one's also going to ship on Ouya.
Potentially, yeah. So that's a funny thing. So we did ship the original on Ouya, and the plugin I'm using for input for Unity supports basically every controller. So just for fun, I put the Ouya buttons in there, so you can play the game with an Ouya controller, and it'll show the correct buttons.
Nice.
And I'm sure nobody will try.
And you mentioned earlier that this was what you said was the definitive edition. Do you think this is Catlateral's peak, or do you think it'll keep going places from here?
I think for me right now, I think it's basically the best I can do by myself, which is kind of the way I keep working, even though I know it's not optimal. But it is a fun idea that I feel like is infinitely expandable, and there's so many more types of levels or interactions or what that could be added to the game. So I'm sure in another 10 years I'll be like, oh, here's a bunch of new ideas I have on the game, and we'll have Remeowstered 2 or whatever, I don't know.
Catlateral 2 Dream Drop Distance.
The audience just pitched Catlateral Vania. I'm intrigued. Which makes me think maybe we should get the audience in on our conversation. So I'm going to get to the last question here. As it always is, how can people follow you and your work and connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty silent online, mostly because
they cannot. No, they cannot connect with you.
No, don't.
How can you connect with me? How dare you try?
But I'm on Twitter at Crixelion, and I'm in the Boston Slack as well if you want to ping me. And then yeah, I guess catlateraldamage.com has all the info you need about the game, the Steam link and all that stuff.
Awesome.
Rad. Thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us all of your cat knowledge.
And for winning the show, for being
winning,
dedicated audience member, making us feel like we love all of our audience, but you in particular made us feel less alone.
I'm frantically looking around my room for like a trophy, like here. It's a glass brick. This is yours now.
I've just destroyed a fake tree here for you.
Oh yeah, here's your gifts.
Trophy. It lives here.
You can have this pen. It's a pretty good pen.
I didn't know this came with the prize package.
Yeah, this is how the series ended. We just unloaded all our small junk on you.
Well, and unfortunately, because we're not in person, I guess I won't be able to give it to you. That's so sad. Anyways.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're just going to take another moment here just to enjoy a few BitShow memories that we did poll the audience about their favorite BitShow memories.
We did. It's true. And funnily enough, the first one is from Dan Williams. Every time a BAFTA is mentioned, that's a BitShow memory.
I'm going to gloss over that one. No need to dive in. Yeah, there we go. I don't actually have the list in front of me. I do remember, I think it was Kreth was saying how much he appreciated Luigi's Game Boy collection. And seeing
that was John Bellini. How could you? You're a fake fan.
Never mind. Kreth hated it. He hated it. He thought it was a waste of time. And John loved the Game Boys.
Game Boys, yeah, that was a good one. It was also, but Chris's is a couple, which is Tom and Kelly's Tortoise Coco's appearance. A very good star of Twitter, Coco. Or alternately, the first time he tried running the Twitch integration live and Unity crashed. And then also the time, interestingly enough, brought up many times during the show, Will Brierley brought his bizarro walking robot talk show.
Yeah. it's been Chris Mayer pointed out 30 episodes, I guess, so far. You know, let's take a moment to applaud that one.
We have there's enough bit show content where if you released a game, someone might not complain that it's too short.
Yeah, but as soon as we release it all, we don't make more than like, why is this game dead? It's a dead game. Developers. No, it has been, not to say we may come back, we just don't know. We, you know, schedules got busy and adventures in life. But it has been an honor and a joy to be doing this to everybody. I think if anything, it illustrates that our community here is ready to just do shit together at the drop of a hat. So even though we may not be doing this next week, if someone in our community steps up and says, I want to do something else right now, or I have a fun idea, there's a good chance people are going to jump on it with you. So please keep that spirit up in the Slack, because I think that's a lesson I'm taking away from this is we came to play with each other. And yeah, I didn't really rehearse this speech.
Boston Game Dev community is pretty neat. Freeze frame. No, I'm kidding. And I want to thank you so much for having me on as a season 4 host. It's been so great. I really enjoyed being a part of this lovely Boston fixture.
Only been one season? You weren't here from the beginning? There was someone else? I don't even remember.
Oh yeah, no, there definitely wasn't someone that I absorbed, that I absorbed and then went back to We Happy Few style redact all mentions of earlier. Definitely didn't happen.
I think that's the reason we haven't.
Applause to Ichiro.
All right, fine. I can pull up this picture.
Or like a in memoriam.
It's just
yeah.
In the arms of
actually, so after what Ziba said, if anyone's interested in picking up the torch and running BitShow or something similar, I'd be happy to share the software with people or help talk through what we've been doing and how we've been doing it. I think I gave a bug talk about how the software works. It's not that complicated, but I don't know. If someone wants to do it, hit me up, message me on the Slack. Boston Indies is always looking for more people to help out and help run things around here. It turns out it's I don't want to say a thankless job, but you don't get paid for it, so you kind of it's. So if anyone's feeling motivated and wants to help support the community, help support the scene, yeah, I don't know, drop me a message. Let's chat about it.
Please direct your thanks in form of Venmo payment to Chris Mayer.
Please don't.
The least we can do for Chris is give him a round of applause.
I have to give a round of applause to myself.
To the king, baby.
Yes, hit the button.
I'm going to hit the Duke Nukem button a couple times.
To the king, baby.
That's what we got. So
Let's rock.
I very much appreciate it. Behind the scenes, Chris does all the finding and scheduling of guests, all the tech stuff, running the stream and the VODs and switching cameras, and he's been doing amazing work, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really, it's been a long and very bad year, and it's been really nice to have a little project like this to, it's pretty, like most Boston Indie stuff, pretty casual, where, we're not stressing it if the Twitch edition that I write crashes midstream. Like, it's all good, and it's been kind of nice to have a low stress project that I could just kind of slowly add features to over the last year. And then obviously just like a good reason to hang out and see Ziba's shining face every week and chit chat with people after the show.
Yeah.
No, I meant shining like radiant with positivity, not
Makeup.
Shout out to Ziba as well for being the soothing heart and soul, and also doing like all of the research. When I first came on, Ziba's like, yeah, and I do like a little bit of research, and then every week Ziba shows up with like this incredibly detailed like laundry list of like notes and questions and stuff, and it's always great.
We chose not to share Chris Chung's social security number, but I had it.
Maybe if you join us on season 5 of the Bit Show, you can get Chris's social security number, I guess.
Get access to season 5 of the Bit Show.
Store for you.
To join season 5 of the Bit Show, we need your help. Give us your mom's maiden name and the first 5 letters of her 5 numbers of her credit card.
Yeah, if you could just @bot show with your social security number, that would be great. You can get a couple points for it. All right, I think.
Yeah, let's move on to the happy hour soon, but we should also say, just because we're not doing Bit Show right away doesn't mean we can't still just throw happy hours. If anybody at any moment feels like throwing a link in and saying somebody drink with me, as healthy or unhealthy as that is, as I made it sound, I don't know. That's still a thing you can do. We've got a Slack. Be social. Keep posting in devlog, of course.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Back to you, Chris.
I think I said everything I was going to say. I don't have anything else. I'm going to post the link to the happy hour in the events channel on the Slack in just a minute, which, of course, again, is slack.bostongamedev.com. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. It's been a genuine pleasure making the show for all of you and with all of you. Thanks to Chris for coming on and for being the winner of Bit Show. Woo! Thanks again to Ichiro and Ziba and Kate for hosting and being on camera, which, I don't know, seems very stressful if you ask me. I'm not very good at it, I don't think. But yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks again, and that's going to be it for now. Maybe we'll be back, fingers crossed. I like running the show, so I'll probably return in some form. But yeah, I don't know, no promises.
Yeehaw.
Thanks, folks.
The movie.
Let's go!
You know what? We're going to run that one more time. Why not?
Let's go!
Oh, also, of course, thank you to Luigi for making that amazing intro and outro.
And John Bellini for the music.
Yes, and John Bellini for the music. All right, now we're done. Thanks. Goodbye, everybody.